So finally, we're going to be talking about Basidiomycetes. These include mushroom, puffballs, bracket fungi, rust, smuts, and some yeasts. And this is puffball fungus. These are wood decay fungi, and they release basidiospores when raindrops hit them. I posted a short video on this. Okay, white pine blister rust is a huge problem. Came into the U.S. on eastern white pines. It attacks all 5 needle pines, and the 2 that are really a problem in this area are bristlecone pine and especially western white pine. So it overwinters in tree cankers. The spores form in orange pustules on cankers. The wind distributes them to ribes, that's currant and gooseberry. And then the fruiting bodies on the undersides of the foliage produce spores. And here's our cycle here. This is what it looks like on the pine. Here's the underside of ribes. So the spores that are reproduced on the ribes can only go reinfect other ribes. But they do form another fruiting body late in the summer and that extend from these spores, and this is what reinfects the white pine. So here's a picture of that life cycle. So on the pine you'll see dark lesions that become diamond-shaped cankers. You'll see flagging, which is basically browning of sections of the tree, and you can see that happening here. And you're going to see orange spore masses. Here's some more of that flagging going on. And then pitch is also associated with this. It comes out of the dead portion of the canker, and then it'll drip down the stem. Obviously this one's a goner. So management includes not planting white pines near currant or gooseberry patches. There has to be a minimum of greater than 1,000 feet, and so you need to remove one species. And of course there's so few western white pines anymore, I would go with removing the ribes. Again, remember the 5 needle white pines are the only ones affected. You can prune out infected branches, making pruning cuts well below diseased tissues. You need to remove severely infected trees. Okay, another rust is Amelanchier rust, and so the spore stages are produced on serviceberry and others in the rose family. They don't reinfect those hosts, however. They only infect alternate hosts, and these are junipers or cedars, and we're talking about incense cedar here during one summer. So the spore stages that are produced on cedars happen in the early spring. And this was actually a picture I took on an incense cedar when I was taking pictures of conifers for our last quizzes on conifer ID. And so what it'll do is it'll infect members of the rose family in early spring period over a 2 to 3 year period. And I looked everywhere for any sort of sign of this on any rose family plants. There was nothing in the area. But spores can travel up to 6 to 10 miles, so it's a real problem. Again, here's a picture, a close-up of the pustules on the stem. Okay, so it also affects junipers. So you get woody round to elongate galls on juniper branches and small stems. You might get witch's broom, and you might also get this reddish-brown gelatinous mass on juniper leaves, and that's what you see in this picture here. Here's what the witch's broom looks like. So to manage Amelanchier rust, remove or widely separate from all junipers and or cedars. Specific junipers or cedars can be removed only when the rust species has been correctly identified, so make sure you're getting this sent to a lab. To prevent juniper infection, remove all rosaceous hosts from the vicinity. Remove infected leaves from them before they begin to sporulate in mid to late summer. Another very serious Basidiomycetes disease is armillaria root rot or shoestring root rot. It'll kill just about everything. When I took diseases from Walt, he said that if you stood there long enough, you could get this disease. There's 12 different species of armillaria. Armillaria mellia is the most common. It can live on both living and dead woody material. It can spread through the roots. So one of the signs you might see are these honey-colored mushrooms around the base of the plant, but this is not a telltale sign all the time. It doesn't always occur. What it does is it kills the cambium, decays the xylem, and over 500 species of plants are hosts for this horrible disease. So you start off with production of smaller than normal leaves. The leaves begin to yellow, the leaves begin to drop, then you have dieback of branches, and eventually the death of the tree. Rhizomorphs are similar to roots. This is where you get the name shoestring fungus, but this is the mycelium of this fungus, and this would be under the bark. This is what you would see. And again, here's this honey-colored mushroom that you might see. And here's some white fungal growth you would see between the bark and the wood at the base of the tree. So management includes reducing stress on the tree, mulching, perhaps with a compost to try to introduce antagonistic organisms, but I wouldn't count on this. Avoid wounding the plant. If you do have it, remove the stumps and the roots, and then you want to use a resistant species, and I put a list of those on Canvas. And Oregon grape rust. Somebody was asking about this. So tilia form on the leaves in the fall, and then tiliospores produce basidiospores, which infect new leaves in March and April. And the spores don't travel very far, so sanitation may be very helpful in management of this disease. I wish I had more information on how to manage this. Avoid overhead irrigation, remove and destroy infected leaves. And Pacific Northwest Handbook says grow resistant cultivars or species. Unfortunately, they did not give any of those out. I read one place that said Mahonia repens may not be as susceptible to rust as some of the other Mahonias, but anyway, very challenging disease.